We live in a world where we're constantly told that prestige equals success, that the fancier the title, the higher the salary, the more recognized the institution, the better your life must be. But prestige is a fragile measure. It's loud on the outside, but often quiet on the inside. Prestige tells the world, "Look at me," while purpose whispers to your heart, "I see you." Purpose is different. It's quieter, but more powerful. It doesn't care what the world thinks of your job, your role, your income, or your accolades. It only cares about how you feel when you wake up in the morning and how you sleep at night. Purpose is about knowing why you're doing what you're doing, not just what you're doing. It's the internal compass that guides your choices when the noise of the world gets overwhelming. You can have a job that sounds impressive and still feel empty. You can have everything you were told to chase the awards, the recognition, the brand names, and still ask yourself, why am I not fulfilled? That's because prestige feeds the ego, but purpose feeds the soul. Prestige is about being seen, but purpose is about being known mostly by yourself. We chase titles thinking they'll bring us clarity, but without purpose, all we get is a shinier mask to wear. Think of the people you admire the most. The ones who radiate authenticity, who move with meaning, who don't need to shout to be heard. They're not always the ones at the top of the ladder, but they're always grounded. That's because they chose purpose over prestige. They knew that impact isn't always glamorous. It's in the small, consistent actions. It's in choosing service over spotlight. It's in doing what's right, not just what looks good. Purpose isn't always easy to follow. It often takes you on the longer path, the quieter path, the less praised path, but it leads you somewhere prestige never can, to real peace, to alignment, to a sense of belonging within yourself. And while prestige may open doors, only purpose can give you a reason to walk through them. From the moment we step into school, we're taught to build a profile that stands out not for who we are, but for what we've done. We add certificates, positions, achievements, all lined up like medals on a wall. We're told that the stronger our resume, the brighter our future, but no one teaches us how to build something deeper, a legacy, something that lasts long after the certificates fade, long after the job titles are forgotten. LinkedIn shows a timeline, a clean, curated sequence of accomplishments, but it can never show who you really were between the lines. It doesn't show how you handled failure, how you lifted someone when they were down, how you stayed honest when no one was watching. That's legacy, and legacy is not built in boardrooms or bios, it's built in moments. In how you make people feel, how you stand by your values, and how you show up when life gets messy. There's a big difference between reputation and legacy. Reputation is what people say about you when you walk into a room. Legacy is what they say about you when you're not in the room or even on this earth. It's the invisible imprint you leave behind in hearts, not headlines. You could be the most followed, most celebrated, most promoted person online, and still leave no real impact behind, because legacy isn't measured by numbers, it's measured by meaning. People won't remember your GPA or your job title. They'll remember the time you listened without judging. They'll remember the advice you gave that shifted their perspective. They'll remember the way you showed up, not because you had to, but because you chose to. That's what defines you. That's what lives beyond you. When we focus only on LinkedIn, we start crafting a life that looks good on paper, but feels hollow in reality. We begin chasing updates to a profile instead of alignment with our principles. But the truth is, when your life becomes about legacy, everything changes. You stop competing and start connecting. You stop performing and start living with purpose. Because you're no longer building a brand, you're building something far more powerful, a life that echoes through others. In a world obsessed with skills, degrees, and titles, we often forget that the most valuable thing we carry into any room isn't our qualifications, it's our character. Skills can be learned. Experience can be gained. But character is who you are at your core, especially when no one's watching. It's the silent force behind every decision you make, every promise you keep, and every challenge you rise through. It doesn't show up on your resume, but it shows up in your actions, your words, your consistency. You can have the best technical knowledge, the most impressive portfolio, or the sharpest mind. But if people can't trust you, if they can't count on you, none of that truly matters. Character is what builds trust. It's what makes someone say, "I believe in you," and not just "you're talented." When you walk into a room, people might be impressed by your background, but it's your integrity that keeps you there. It's your humility that earns respect. It's your kindness that builds relationships that last beyond transactions. Character shows itself in the moments no one claps for, when you own up to a mistake instead of blaming others, when you give credit instead of taking it, when you keep going even when no one's watching, no one's cheering, and no one's giving you a title for it. That quiet strength, that unwavering commitment to doing what's right, that's character, and it's rare. Because it's not taught in textbooks or workshops. It's shaped by reflection, failure, honesty, and how you respond when things don't go your way. The world often chases charisma. We celebrate the loudest voice, the most polished speech, the most attention-grabbing presence. But charisma can impress temporarily, character inspires permanently. You might be able to talk your way into a role, but only character keeps you there. People might notice your achievements, but they remember your principles. What kind of energy you brought into a space, how you made them feel, whether your actions aligned with your words, when the spotlight fades, when the applause stops, when the stage is empty, it's your character that remains. It's the foundation you stand on when success changes and challenges come. And while the world may not give you awards for it, character will always be the one thing no one can take from you. We grow up believing that success is a checklist. Graduate with honors, land a prestigious job, buy a house, get promoted, post it all online, smile wide, but nobody ever asks how it feels. We chase things we're told will make us happy, and yet when we get them, the joy is fleeting or missing entirely. That's because true success isn't external, it's internal. It's not about how long your list of achievements is. It's about how fulfilled, at peace, and connected you feel while living your life. There are people with a wall full of certificates and awards who cry themselves to sleep at night. There are people who check every box society gave them and still feel lost. That's not failure, it's a wake-up call. A reminder that doing more isn't the same as being more. That accomplishments are empty if you don't feel aligned with them. That success, real success, is a feeling, not a performance. When you measure success by how it looks, you'll always be chasing the next thing. But when you measure it by how you feel, when you're driven by joy instead of pressure, peace instead of comparison, you start to build something sustainable, something real, a version of success that can't be taken away by a layoff, a bad quarter, or a missed opportunity. Because it's rooted in presence, in purpose, in self-respect. You can have fewer awards and more inner freedom, fewer followers but deeper friendships, a simpler life, but one that makes you feel alive instead of exhausted. The irony is, the more you focus on how success feels instead of how it looks, the more meaningful your outer success becomes too. Because now you're choosing what matters, you're setting goals that serve your soul, not your image. And when you start asking yourself, does this bring me peace? Does this energize me? Do I feel proud of who I'm becoming? Those answers begin to guide you more than any title, salary, or applause ever could. You stop needing to prove yourself because you know yourself. You stop comparing your journey because you've defined your own version of success. One that feels right even if it doesn't look impressive to the world. We live in a time where everything is measured: likes, views, followers, grades, rankings, KPIs, and results. We're taught to value data over depth, performance over presence. But the truth is, no one remembers the numbers that defined your career. They remember the moments that defined your character. They remember how you showed up for them in a time of need. They remember the small acts of kindness, the silent support, the unspoken empathy. Metrics can't capture the warmth of a hug, when someone's world was falling apart. They can't quantify the power of listening without judgment. They don't record the courage it took to stand up for someone who couldn't speak for themselves. And they definitely don't measure how you made people feel. Because while metrics track output, moments build legacy, some of the most unforgettable people are not the most successful by society's standards. They are the ones who were present. The teacher who believed in a student before they believed in themselves. The friend who stayed on the phone until 2 a.m. when anxiety made the world feel heavy. The coworker who noticed when you were struggling and didn't turn away. These aren't major life events. They're micro moments with macro impact. It's easy to become addicted to achievement, to climb ladders, chase numbers, and constantly ask, what's next? But what if we paused long enough to ask, what matters? Because when we look back, it's rarely the awards or promotions we hold on to. It's the moments of connection, growth, compassion, laughter, and even loss, because those are the places where we were truly alive. Metrics will always exist, and they have their place. But don't let them become the only mirror you look into. Don't allow data to distract you from your humanity. You are not your productivity. You are not your follower count. You are not your salary, your sales, or your stats. You are the energy you leave in a room, the stories others tell about you, and the memories that replay in people's minds when your name is mentioned. From an early age, we're conditioned to answer the question, what do you do? As if it defines who we are. We're taught to attach our worth to titles student, manager, CEO, doctor, engineer, as if those labels are the measure of our value. But a title is just a position, not a personality. It tells people where you sit on an organizational chart, not how you show up in the world. You are so much more than what fits under your name on a business card. There are people with impressive titles who feel invisible inside, people who have worked their whole lives to be called something they thought would finally make them feel enough only to realize it didn't. A job title might impress others for a moment, but it doesn't sustain your self-worth, because worth is not assigned by hierarchy. It's expressed through your character, your choices, your values, and your capacity to care. You can be an intern and lead with wisdom. You can be in between jobs and still inspire everyone around you. You can be a stay-at-home parent and have more emotional intelligence than someone running a Fortune 500 company. The world may not always reward you for those things, but they are the core of what makes you valuable. Not the title you hold, but the life you live while holding it. When you let your title define you, you give your power away. Because titles can be given and taken, but your kindness, your courage, your ability to grow, to learn, to rise again, that's yours always. And ironically, the people who have the deepest impact aren't obsessed with their title, they're focused on their contribution. On the difference they make, whether or not anyone notices, whether or not their job description mentions it. When we meet people and only ask about their career, we miss out on their essence, their dreams, their struggles, their inner life. No one's title tells the full story. It doesn't speak to the nights they stayed strong when life was falling apart. It doesn't show their loyalty, their resilience, or their creativity when no one believed in them. Those things aren't listed on resumes, but they are the real evidence of a life well lived. Build a life, not a resume. That's the message we rarely hear but deeply need. From childhood, we're trained to chase titles, collect awards, and measure our value through achievements. We're taught to perfect our resumes, to fill them with skills, job experiences, and milestones that look impressive. But no one tells us that none of that guarantees happiness. No one tells us that you can have the perfect resume and still feel completely lost inside. You can be hired by your dream company and still cry on your way to work. You can have the right degree, the right job, the right income, and still feel like something is missing, because resumes capture what you've done, but they don't reflect who you are. They don't show how much you've grown through pain. They don't tell the story of how you rebuilt yourself after failure, how you stayed kind in a cruel world, how you loved even when it wasn't returned. A resume might open doors, but it doesn't build relationships. It doesn't build peace. It doesn't help you sleep at night, knowing you lived a life that felt true to you. You weren't born to just meet expectations. You were born to create, to feel, to connect, to leave a mark on people's hearts, not just on paper. Some people live their entire lives building resumes they never stop to live. They wait to be happy until they're promoted, wait to feel worthy until someone validates them, wait to feel alive until retirement, but life is happening now, in the quiet moments, in the daily choices that don't show up on any CV. No one will remember your resume when you're gone. They'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember your laughter, your energy, your stories, your presence. So why not start living for those things now? Why not build a life that feels meaningful, not just marketable? Don't let a resume become your identity. Don't let job titles become your self-worth. Build a life that reflects your values, your passions, your truth. A life that fills you, not just your LinkedIn, because in the end, it's not the bullet points that define you, it's the moments, the memories, the meaning you create along the way.